When I think about the coronavirus and what the weeks and months ahead hold, the word that comes to mind for me is uncertainty. Uncertainty about when we'll be able to return to work and school. Uncertainty about whether us or our loved ones will contract the virus and how bad the actual crisis is. Uncertainty about when we'll be able to resume activities we like going out to eat, going shopping at our favorite stores, or going to the gym. Uncertainty about future trips or plans. And the list goes on and on. And a word that I think accompanies uncertainty that describes how we feel is anxiety. Anxiety has numerous effects on us, but one thing that's clear is when we have anxiety, we experience a loss of control, a sense of being out of control. When we're anxious and feeling out of control, we lose that sense of peace, that sense of feeling safe and secure, at rest, at ease. As I reflect on the uncertainty of these times and the accompanying anxiety and lack of peace, I was reminded once again of the book of Philippians. Those of you who watched my devotional last week may remember that I went to Philippians last week, and I'm going to return there this week. It's a short letter in the New Testament that was written by the Apostle Paul from a prison cell, probably in Rome. And as I thought about sharing these devotionals, it occurred to me that probably an upcoming sermon series is going to be on the book of Philippians. Listen to these words from Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7. And as I read these words, I want to encourage you to actually close your eyes, kind of take a deep breath and exhale, and just receive these words deep into your spirit. I'm going to read them twice. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Paul first instructs us to present what's on our hearts to God in prayer rather than dwelling on anxiety. And when I think of that, I'm reminded of Pastor Rick Warren's challenge to trade worry for worship. He said that when we worry, our problems get big and we lose sight of their sense of reality because our problems, our worries become all-consuming. But when we worship, our problems, our worries are right-sized in the perspective of God and His greatness. Paul goes on to tell us the result of choosing prayer over anxiety. He says that God's peace, which goes far beyond our understanding, will guard our hearts and our minds in Christ. My tendency when I'm struggling with uncertainty or anxiety is to become even more kind of focused on trying to gain control, on trying to have understanding. I work harder at trying to think things through and trying to make plans. And yet, my understanding, especially in a time like this, is painfully limited. My tendency to work hard and try to really grasp things isn't really helpful. But God's peace goes way beyond the understanding I have. A parallel passage to the one we've been looking at in Philippians comes from Proverbs chapter 3, 5, and 6. And because of the similarity of these verses to the ones in Philippians, my guess is that the Apostle Paul may have had these verses in mind when he wrote his letter. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. For our health of mind, it's essential during these times that we choose presenting our concerns to God over anxiety, that we choose worship over worry. When we give our concerns to God, He promises to give us peace that goes far beyond our understanding. As the old saying goes, I don't know what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. I know I need to remember that now, and I'm sure you do as well.